gentlemen, welcome back to yet another edition of Burnt Coverage, Week 12 Thanksgiving edition. I'm your host, Joel.
Are you sure?
I was trying to come up with some witty Thanksgiving pun. And
I'm Curtis.
That's about as witty as we get here. So we're going to start off with running backs this week.
And Joel's just finishing texting with his mom to see what he's going to bring to his potluck Thanksgiving.
Actually texting your mom.
Oh! I think we're going to be cooking swoop this week for Thanksgiving.
You just learned who swoop is.
Alright, running back. Well, not to rub salt in your swoop's wound, but I'm going to be taking Doug Martin as my pick of the week at running back.
What a shock!
Doug Martin, you might have heard of him. That guy who ran for 230 yards last week.
Oh,
on the road.
Also known as chasing last week's stats. Always a very strong play.
They're probably going to give Doug Martin some carries after last week. So here we go. Doug Martin.
I'm ignoring this segment.
Doug Martin, 5,800 in DraftKings, 7,500 in FanDuel. Playing in Indy on the turf, which we know you run faster on. 21st against the rush. You're ignoring. Ignore away. Ignore.
It's scientific. We're all faster on turf.
It is. It's true. Yeah, there's less grass to stop your feet.
There's less grass on
turf. That grass.
Give me more of this brilliant insight.
Makes you less
there
aerodynamic.
Is less grass
the
on
Colts
turf.
are 21st against the rush. And as I said, Doug Martin just had a 230-yard game. And he is second in the league now in rushing yards. Yes, that's right. Doug Martin is second in the league in rushing and playing a bad Indy defense. This looks to be a low-scoring game. The Bucs defense has been very solid. Matt Hasselbeck is nobody's fantasy pick of the week. That's for sure. And we should see very little opposition, really, on either side. Winston's. I hate to say fluke, but it was all Doug Martin getting Winston into scoring territory, and he pushed it in from there. He only had like 240 yards passing. Neither of these teams passed for a lot of yards this year, even when Luck was in, and now you have Matt Hasselbeck in. So I see a low-scoring ground control game with Doug Martin carrying the load. And for an elite running back, Doug Martin's fairly cheap. 5,800 for a guy that just ran for 230 yards. Almost guaranteed to get into the end zone this week. Kind of fluky they didn't last week. He had two big runs. They caught him right at the end. So I look for Doug Martin to take over the rushing lead this week against Indy.
Are you done?
I'm done.
That was a nice little nap on my part. All right, so I'm going to give you actually some useful fantasy advice now. The running back to play this week is actually Chris Johnson, Arizona Cardinals, going against the terrible San Francisco 49ers. So Chris Johnson has had two bad weeks in a row. He hasn't topped 60 yards rushing in either of those weeks, but he has played two tough run defenses in Cincinnati and Seattle the past 2 weeks. But prior to that, the 2 weeks he played Cleveland and Baltimore, got over 100 yards each of those games. San Francisco is giving up the second most fantasy points to opposing running backs this year. And lest we forget when they faced each other earlier this year, when Arizona put the smackdown on San Fran, winning 47-7. Chris Johnson went 22 for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns. I look for the exact same stat line this week.
Chris Johnson has had a good year. The problem with Chris Johnson to me, and the last 2 weeks he has played good defenses, is that there are two other running backs competing for carries.
Andre Ellington is not a running back.
Andre Ellington plays the running back position, and they don't have Andre Ellington and Chris Johnson at the same time.
Andre Ellington's not running back.
Andre Ellington does steal time from the field away from Chris Johnson, no matter what. And Andre Ellington did have a over 40-yard run for a touchdown 2 weeks ago.
Three missed tackles. Go ahead, continue.
He is involved in 3 missed tackles against a good defense. He is involved in the game. They also want to get their rookie involved.
Who's that rookie?
David Johnson. And Chris Johnson, he's an older back, and as we know about older backs, they tend to fade off as the year goes on. And there's also a good possibility, too, that this game could get out of control early, and they might even rest Chris Johnson at some point. So I don't feel too safe in this. I know we're going to look at Thomas Rawls' numbers last week and be like, oh, that's what Chris Johnson can do. The problem is that they really had nobody else. They got the Seahawks had gotten rid of Turbin. Of course, Marshawn Lynch was out, and Fred Jackson has never really been able to get healthy this whole year. And there's a stable of running backs that are all pretty solid for the Cardinals. So I see this as a low upside play and somewhat risky upside play.
Because when they shellacked them earlier this year, they won by 40 points, and they were up by 35 points at halftime. Chris Johnson still got 22 touches. So I don't think that the score really with this team, the score does not dictate the usage of Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson has done nothing the last 2 years, so he's got 2 years left of 2 years more of legs left.
I swear, in an earlier segment, you said when I was talking about Carson Palmer, you said that they were a mediocre running game.
No, I did not say that.
Okay. Well, have to look, and America, just check that out too.
I said Andre Ellington is a mediocre running back.
Hey, nobody is a more go for broke fan for Chris Johnson than I have been over the past few years. That's for damn sure.
CJ2K.
Better or worse. Yeah, I don't really see it. Not a terrible play, but come on, Joel. Really? Chris Johnson?
Doug Martin?
Doug Martin just rushed for 230 yards!
Oh, if only we could have played him last week!
If only they could play that defense
Chasing
every
last
week.
week's stats.
The Bucks would win every week if they played that defense.
Stats. We're changing the name of the show to Chasing Last Week's Stats.
And, I'll play somebody that did shit last week. And that's my next pick. I'll show you, Joel. I'll pick a running back.
Someone who's terrible!
I'm going to pick a running back that sucked all year. Show you who's boss. And that running back's TJ Yeldon. TJ Yeldon, 4,800 in DraftKings, 6,500 in FanDuel.
What time is it? It only took us 20 minutes to get to a Jacksonville Jaguar.
Oh, I hope you don't have any Jaguars this week, Joel. Anywho.
Oh, I got a Jaguar for you.
Hey. I don't know what that means. TJ Yeldon, the workhorse back of the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you have not seen the Jacksonville Jaguars play, they've actually turned into a fairly interesting team to watch. But most of that is based in their passing game. Blake Bortles, Allen Robinson, and Allen Hurns have become actually one of the elite wide receiver quarterback combos in the NFL, shockingly. They're all good young players, and they're only going to get better, I think. But Yeldon is really an important piece in this pie because he is a 20 carry back. He is a receiving back as well. And remember, he's only a rookie. He's been dealing with an injury, a foot injury, the last few weeks. But before that, he was a 20 carry guy. And the last 2 weeks, he's only been 14 or 15 carries. I look to see him hit the 20 carry plateau again against the worst team against the run, the San Diego Chargers, who they're playing this week. And this is in Jacksonville as well. The Chargers have never really played well on the road, save one miraculous Phillip Rivers game when he had all his receivers in Green Bay. But as we've seen last week by the shellacking that the Kansas City Chiefs gave the Chargers in San Diego, 33-3, the Chargers ain't what they used to be. And so I see another low-scoring, run-based game, and TJ Yeldon's going to be the key cog in that. He has no real competition in backups. Toby Gerhardt's been injured, and Denard Robinson, who they thought would get a lot of carries, has not gotten a lot of carries. And like I said, we saw the Chiefs dismantle the Chargers, mostly by their third or possibly fourth string running back, Spencer Ware, going 11 for 96 and 2 touchdowns. And I see Yeldon, who's familiar in this offense, healthy once again, and for a cheap price, 4,800 DraftKings, 6,500 FanDuel, to really make his mark in this game.
No, not at all. I think TJ Yeldon is a terrible running back, and the only reason he still has a starting job is because Denard Robinson was a college quarterback, and Toby Gerhardt has not been good since those 2 weeks in Minnesota. No, this is not a good play because I just think that with the receiving core that Jacksonville now has developed. They don't have a number 1 and a number 2. They have 2 1As in Robinson and Hearns. They split the targets, they split the receptions, they split the touchdowns right down the pike. And Bortles knows where his bread is buttered, and that is in his receiving core. And now with the sudden reemergence of Julius Thomas as their tight end, I really have no confidence in the running game. Why should you have confidence in a running game with a running back that can't run and you have wide receivers who can catch?
TJ Yeldon's had good games this year. He's had 100-yard games.
I don't remember that.
Selective memory. He did against the Bucks. Anyway.
Oh, that's why, because I didn't watch that game.
You didn't watch Bucks Jaguars?
Why would anyone watch that
game? Shocking. Bucks won, by the way.
It's a top 10 defense.
Well, here we are. TJ Yeldon, he should get 20 carries. You're not going to get a lot of other backs in the 4,500 range that are going to get that many carries.
Funny you should say that, because I have exactly one that's cheaper than that will get 20 carries.
I smell a segue.
And that is Monday Night Football with Baltimore Ravens versus the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens' new running back, Javarius, also known as Buck Allen, the new lead running back with the terrible injury to
Don't force it.
Justin Forsett. Thank you very much. And their backup, their second string, Telefaro, has been out for practically all season anyway with a foot injury, both on season-ending IR. So this is Allen's job. He is now your 3-down back in Baltimore. He went for 67 yards and 22 carries, in addition to 48 yards on 5 catches last week, in relief of Forsett once he got hurt. Fourth-round rookie out of USC. And Baltimore is now a second-string offense. They now have Matt Schaub as their starting quarterback with the season-ending injury to Joe Flacco. Starting quarterback, we've all seen Matt Schaub before. Matt Schaub is not going to light the world on fire, so what he's going to do, he's going to hand it off to his running back. He's going to hand it off 20, 25 times because Cleveland Browns are dead last against the run, giving up almost 140 yards a game. So this has another perfect storm written all over it for Javarius Allen. This is the only week I will be advocating Javarius Allen, because I don't care if he runs for 200 yards this week, which I think is a distinct possibility to do. This is his only game. For the rest of the schedule, it's so tough for Baltimore, especially for the running backs. This is the time to buy, and you're going to buy low and cash in. He's going for 4,600 on DraftKings and 6,300 on the Duel.
Yeah, this is a solid play this week, only because there are no weapons. If Matt Schaub surprisingly led the league in passing at one point, but at that time he had an Andre Johnson in his prime. Andre Johnson will probably be a Hall of Famer.
And a rookie DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes, so there's that. He does not have that there now. He has Kamar Aiken and the rest, Harlan Brown,
Chris Gibbons.
and Chris Gibbons.
Crockett Gilmore, though, has made some noise.
But as far as that goes, even Joe Flacco's always been good with his tight ends. I guess Schaub has some success with Owen Daniels.
Absolutely.
His
first name's Crockett.
That might be something, but
Crockett.
Yeah, Cleveland's not a great defense. However, as we've seen in the past, division games kind of go one way or the other. They're either really tight, low-scoring games, or they're really tight, high-scoring games. And you can never really pick which one. So
either way, it's got to be tight.
Hey, so hopefully Buck. What? I think Buck's so much better. I don't know.
Buck?
Yeah, I like Buck more.
Javarius.
So Javarius,
Javarius,
aka Buck Allen, could have a good game, and probably it'll be worth the price. And
4,600. Come on, 4,600.
If you're like me and if football's on, I have to watch it. Then there you go. At least you can.
Because it's Monday night, you make yourself a nice turkey sandwich, a little stuffing, a little cranberry sauce, a little mayo.
Yeah.
Crack a beer. Enjoy.
Sounds like the life right there. Well, there we are. Another segment of Burnt Coverage is finished. I'm your host, Curtis.
And I'm Joel.
And we hope you will join us for the rest of our segments for Week 12, including our special Thanksgiving Day segment. And we hope to see you next time.
On the couch. Happy holiday.
Bye.